is not equal to 4. And when my user enters option 4, we should stop the execution of our program. So in order for our user to know that 4 means exit, we are going to write that here in our show menu function. So here I'm going to add this fourth option, which is going to exit our program like this. Okay, now if I run this code, you can see that it says that it has this menu here, and then it asks for option. So I'm going to enter option 1, for example. Okay, and this option 1 says that balance is $500. Now let's enter this second option. Let's enter this deposit option. So I'm going to press 2, and as you can see, it says please enter deposit amount. So let's say that I want to deposit $700, for example. Okay, now if I check my balance again, so I have entered this option 1, and then I press enter, as you can see, it says that my balance is $1,200. And there's one thing that I want to do with this program, because I don't like the way that this looks. It is not really readable. So I'm going to add clear screen, so clear console command, and I'm going to add that here. So after my user chooses his option, I want to clear the console. So I'm going to say system, and then let's add CLS, which is a command that is going to clear my console, clear my window. So if I run my program again, as you can see, again, we have this menu, and then it asks us for the option. So let's say that I want to check my balance. It says that my balance is $500. Now let's try to withdraw money. Let's say that I want to withdraw money, and I want to withdraw $600, for example. And then it says not enough money because we had $500 on our account. So now what I want to do is, let's say, for example, that I want to deposit $100, okay, and then I want to withdraw $600. Okay, and if I check my balance now, as you can see, balance is 0. And in order to test this exit functionality, let's press 4, and then if I press enter, as you can see, my application is going to close. Now another thing that I want to check is going to be what is going to happen if our user enters option that is not valid, meaning an option that is not any of these 4 that we have covered here. So if I run my program again, as you can see, it asks us to enter options. So I'm going to enter option 5, for example, which is not valid, and nothing has happened. If I enter option 9, nothing has happened again. 99. Okay, now you get the point. What is happening here is our program tries to find this adequate option. So option 5, option 9, whichever one we have selected. And since that option does not exist in these cases here, our program continues to this while check, and then it checks that the option is not equal to 4, and because our option is 5 or 9 or 99, which is not equal to 4, then our do while iterates again, and then it writes this show menu again, and then it asks us to enter this option again. So these 3 options are the only valid options that you can select, and then 4 means that you are going to exit your program. Now here we have created this show menu function that has check balance, deposit, withdraw, and then this exit option. And what I want to suggest to you is how you can upgrade this program on your own. So for example, you can create 2 users, 2 accounts. And what you can do with those 2 users is you can implement transfer option, meaning transfer money from one account to the other account. And I'm going to leave that up to you. And if some of you decide to write that code, make sure to paste it in the comments down below. And I'm going to review that code, and some other people may find it useful as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon as well. And I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Saldina and I make IT and programming related videos, so if you're interested in those, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up, because that helps me a lot to reach more people and spread programming knowledge. And in this video, I want to talk about generics and templates in C++. So what are generics? The idea of generics was born when programmers decided that they want to be able to use the same code but with different data types. So the logic is the same, but data types are different. Or if you want another explanation, when we talked about functions, we said that we can pass parameters to functions. And what we said as well is that types of those parameters had to be known beforehand. So you had to hard code types of those parameters, whether it is int or char or float or any other data type, that had to be known beforehand. But with this idea of generics, what we should be able to do is we should be able to pass that type itself to a function. So we should be able to determine which type we want that function to operate on. And the best way for you to understand this will be on an example. So that is exactly what I will do. So let's say that in my Visual Studio, I want to create a function that will swap the values of two variables. And if you don't have an idea how you can swap values of two variables, I have a video where I explain that in a very visual way, so you can use that video. I will link it here. So here I will just type very quickly the code for that, and if you need explanation again, you can watch that video. So I will say that that function will be of return type void, and I will call it swap. And then what I want to pass to this function will be two integer variables. So I will say int a and then int b, like this. Okay, but because I want to have both of these variables available in my main function, which will invoke my swap function, I will have to pass these two variables using a reference. And again, if you're not familiar with passing parameters by a reference, I will link another video here where I talk about that. And I think that I made more than one video on my channel talking about passing variables by a reference to a function, so I will put those in the description as well. So the code for this swap function will be the following. So I will say int temp, I will create a temporary variable, and to that temporary variable I will assign the value that my variable a is holding, and then I will assign to my variable a the value that my b is holding, like this, and then to my b I will assign whatever my temp variable is holding. Again, if you need to understand this in more detail, I will put video in the description of this logic here. Okay, so now this function should give us the ability to swap values of two variables, and the way to test this function is the following. So I will say, please create two variables, call them a and b, like this, and to my a variable I will assign the value of 5, for example, and then b will have the value of 7. So let's write out values of these two variables. Let's say a, and then just make a separation, and then value of b, like this. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to invoke this swap function. I will say swap, and then I will pass my a and then b, like this. And if I copy this line after the invocation of my swap function, we will see if the values had indeed been changed. So if I run my program, as you can see, this line of code here has resulted with this output, so 5, 7, and then after invoking our swap function, the values inside these two variables, so a and b, have successfully been swapped. So now it is 7, 5. Okay, excellent. So that means that this function does what it should do. Now, what happens if I want to swap values of two char variables, for example? What I would have to do is I would have to copy this function, paste it here, and then I will adjust it to be able to work with char variables. So I will say char, and then I will change this with char as well, and then here I will put char as well. Now this swap function should work with char parameters, and this is called function overloading. If you're not familiar with function overloading, I made that video explaining how it works, so I will link it here if you want to watch it, and I will put it in the description as well. So this function should be able to work with char parameters now. And in order to test this function, let's create two variables of type char, so char C, and then D as well. And to my C variable, I will assign the value of letter C, and then to D, I will assign the value of letter D. Excellent. So I will copy this line of code here, and I will just adjust it so that now we write out the value of our C variable, and then here we write out the value of my D variable, like this. And then after this line of code here, I want to invoke this swap function. So I will say swap, and then pass it C and D, like this. And I want to write out my C and D variables after this line of code here. So after I have swapped the values, just to check that they successfully have been swapped. So if I run my code, as you can see, we have this output here, so C and D. And then after swapping the values inside these two variables, we have this output here, which means that they have been swapped successfully. Now, I see a problem with this approach here, and the problem is following. What happens if I want, for example, to swap values of two float variables, and then two doubles, and then two booleans, and so on? Well, I would have to create this swap function for each data type. And that is repeating code, and we shouldn't really be repeating code unless we really need to, and in this particular situation we don't. So there is a simple solution for this problem, and that simple solution will be using generics. And the idea is to be able to use the same function, the same logic, but with different data types. So again, we will be solving this problem using generics. And the way that generics are implemented is using templates. So how do you make a template in C++? Well, you use keyword that is template, like this, and then inside these angled brackets, you will put the name of your type. So you will say type name, and most common type name that is used is called T, but you can use whichever type name you want. You can say type as well if you want, that should work, but I will use T because that is the recommended way. So now that I have created a template and I have said I want to create a new type, which is called T, I will have to use this T in my swap function. So now I will change this int with my T. So I will say T here, and then T here, and I will create T here as well. Okay, now this T is called generic data type, and this swap function is now a generic function, which means that this swap function can be used on any data type whose variables can be swapped using this logic here. So in one invocation it can be swapping integer variables, and then in another it can be swapping characters, and then in the next one floats, and then doubles and booleans, and so on. So now that means that we can really remove this swap function because we do not need it, because as we said, this function here is a generic function and it can be used with different data types. So now I will delete this swap function here, and if I run this code should work as it did before. So let's press this button. Okay, and as you can see, 5, 7, and then 7, 5. This function indeed works for integers, and then CD, and then DC, so it works for characters as well. And let's close this. Okay, now what you can do here as well, here in the invocation, in this 15th line, invoking this function for two integer variables, what you can do is you can specify the type itself as well. So you can say, I am invoking this swap function for my integer type. So now when this function is invoked, it will go here, and this T keyword will be changed with this int. So it will be int here, and then int here, and then int here, and it will do the swapping. This function here will do the swapping for int data type. And then in this 20th line here, you can say as well char if you want. You don't have to. That process will happen automatically because you have declared C and D as char type. So those C and D of type char will be passed here, and then char will be here, and char will be here, and then char will be here as well. So what we have acquired with this template function here is to be able to use the same code with different data types. We have just demonstrated how that can be invoked for integer data type, and then how we can use it for character, and you can do on your own float or double or bool and so on. Okay, and then what you can do as well is you can use any other name for your generic type. T is something that is used commonly in literature, but you can use type as well if you want. So you can say O, you can say type, and then you would have to say type here, and then type here, and here as well. Okay, that should work the same way that it did previously. And then another thing that you will find in literature is instead of this type name keyword, you can use class. It really depends on you. Whichever one you want to use, you can. And again, if you know what classes are, class is a type as well, so it is user-defined type. So this should work as well, the same way that type name keyword did. And if you're not familiar with classes and objects and object-oriented programming, I have a course which I will link here, so make sure to watch that. So I hope that this video helped you understand what are generics and templates and what is the main idea behind them. And we will be talking about this, of course, in my future videos and in more depth. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon as well so that you don't miss a video that I publish. And if you like this one, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me to reach more people and help more people with programming. So thank you very much for watching, and I am going to see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Saldina and I make IT and programming related videos, so if that is something that is of interest to you, consider subscribing to my channel. And in this video I want to talk about recursion and recursive functions. In my previous videos we already talked about functions in general, so you should be familiar with that. And then in this video I want to show you on an example what is recursion and how it works. So what is recursion? Recursion is a process where a function invokes itself, and that function that invokes itself is called recursive function. That is pretty simple definition. So let's show that on an example. And the example that I want to give you today in this video will be to sum all the numbers between m and n, which are the numbers that our user defines. And the first thing that I want to show is we will solve that problem using loops, which is a solution that you should already be familiar with. And if you don't understand loops, you can find videos on loops in my C++ for Beginners playlist, so you can watch that. And then after we solve that problem using loops, I want to show you how you can solve that same problem using recursion. So if you want to skip directly to the recursion part, I'm going to leave the link to that part, the timestamp, in the description of this video, so that you can navigate yourself directly to the recursion part if you want. Now, as I already said, the problem that we want to solve in this video is going to be to sum all numbers between number m and n. So let's write the text of our task here. I'm going to say sum numbers between m and n. Okay, so this is going to be our task. And then here, as I already said, I will first solve this problem using loops. So considering that we have to sum numbers between number m and n, I will create two variables, so int m and n, which are two variables to hold the numbers that our user enters. You can do that part. I'm going to hard code those values here. So let's say that my number m, that my variable m holds value of 2 and then n holds the value of 4, for example. And one thing, if you are going to ask your user to enter the numbers for these two variables, what you should do is you should make sure that your user enters smaller number in your variable m and then greater number in your variable n. And if that is not the case, there are a few ways to solve that problem. So you can swap the values in these two variables. If your user enters bigger number here and then smaller one here, and if you don't know how to swap the values in two variables, I'm going to put a link which contains the explanation for that here. And then you can as well just ask your user to enter again and again and again until this number is smaller and then this one is greater. And as I already said, I'm just going to hard code these two values here. Okay, so now that we have our number m and our number n, what I'm going to do is I will write a loop which is going to solve this problem here. And the easiest way to solve this problem here is going to be using for loop. So I will say for, and then I will declare a counter, int I, and that counter should start at the value of our variable m, so I is equal to m, and then it should count until it comes to the value of n. So while our I is less than or equal to n, so while our I is less than or equal to n, and then in each iteration I'm going to increase the value of my counter by 1. Okay, so what I should do in this for loop here is I will just sum all the values that my counter holds in a specific iteration. So I will create a variable here, which is going to be of type int, and I will call it sum. And initial value for our sum will be 0, because 0 is neutral when it comes to adding. So here I will write sum is equal to whatever our sum was previously holding, and then to that I will add the value of my I counter, like this. So this should be pretty much it to solve this problem. And at the end of this for loop, we should have the sum of the numbers between 2 and 4 in this variable here. So let's write that out. I will say cout sum is equal to, and then write out the value that our sum variable holds. And if you're not familiar with this code here, you should watch my video related to for loop, and I'm going to link it here or leave it in the description down below. So let's run our program and test this code here. Okay, it says that our sum is equal to 9, so 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9, so that is the correct result. So this approach here will solve this problem using loops. And this is something that you should already be familiar with. And now I'm going to show you how you can solve this same problem using recursive functions. So let's comment this code out because I don't need it anymore, like this. And then what I want to do is I want to create a function of return type int, and I will call it, let's call it recursive sum, like this. Okay, so this recursive sum function will receive two parameters, and those two will be integer number m and then integer which is called number n. So we will pass these two values to our recursive sum function. And what should we do inside this recursive sum function? Well, the same way that we do not want this for loop to be an infinite loop, we do not want our function to be an infinite recursion. So here we specify the condition when our for loop is going to stop to execute. So here, when our counter I reaches the value of n, that is the point when our for loop stops running. And then here in our recursive sum function, we will have to define a base case which is going to break this recursion. So as I already said, it is called base case, and for this recursive sum function, our base case will be following. So I will say if our m is equal to n, in that case, what I want to do is I want to return from this recursive sum function value of our m or n. So I will say return m. It doesn't really matter which one you return because here we have checked that they are equal. Okay, so this here is our base case, something that is going to break our recursion so that we do not end up with an infinite recursion. Okay, and then what I want to do here is I want to do that recursive part. So that part where the function is invoking itself. And what we should do here is the following. So I will say return, and here I want to return the value of m, so the current value of our m parameter, and then I will add to that the following expression. So I will invoke again our recursive sum function, but this time I will pass to this recursive sum function the value of our m plus 1 and then the value of our n variable. Okay, so what this code here is going to do? The same way that here we have increased the value of our I counter in each iteration, here I'm increasing the value of our m parameter in each recursion, so that at a certain point we are going to reach this condition here, so our m and our n will be equal, and at that point our recursion is going to stop. So how is this code here going to behave? Well, let's write out invocation of this function here, and then we are going to go line by line through the execution of this program so that you can understand how this recursion is going to work. So let's say cout sum is equal to, And then I will invoke this recursive sum. So recursive sum, and here I want to pass the value of m and n, like this. So when we come to this 14th line of code here, what is going to happen is we will pass values of 2 and 4 to this function here. So I will write that my m holds the value of 2, and then n holds the value of 4. Okay, and then we come to this line of code here, and we check, is our m equal to our n? So is 2 equal to 4? The answer to that is no, so we do not execute this, but we go here, and what this line of code here says, it says, please return from this function the following. So return current value of my m, which is 2, and then to that I will add whatever this recursive sum function returns to me if I pass it m plus 1 and n. So here I will invoke function again, and I'm going to use these parentheses to indicate invocation of a function. So here we are invoking recursive sum function again, and this time we are passing it values of m plus 1, which is 3, and then n stays the same because our n is our upper limit, so that we can know when we are going to break this recursion. So here is the invocation of this function again, and then we have entered this function using these two parameters. So we go here again and we check again, is our m equal to our n? So is 3 equal to 4? The answer to that is no. So we do not execute this line of code, but we go here again. And what this line of code here says, it says, please return current value of m, which is in this recursion 3, and then add to that whatever this recursive sum function returns for these parameters here. So here I will invoke recursion again, and I will indicate that again with these parentheses. So we invoke our recursive function again with parameters of m plus 1, which is 4, and then n stays the same. So we go here again, and we check, is 4 equal to 4? And the answer to that question now is yes. So now we return the value of our m, which is 4. So here I will say that this recursion returns the value of 4, and then we go backwards. So here we have all the invocations of this recursive sum function. So the result, the end result of this recursion is going to be the result of this expression here. So let's calculate what this recursive sum function is going to return finally at the end. So this is one recursion, and that recursion returns the value of 4. So I'm going to delete these parentheses, and then the recursion prior to that returned the value of 3 plus 4, which is 7. And then if we come out this recursion as well, so I will delete these parentheses, the result of our recursive sum function will be the result of this expression. So 2 plus 7 will be equal to 9. So this is going to be the result of our recursive sum function. So if I run my program now, we should get this 9 as the result of executing this recursive sum function. So let's run our program. And as you can see, sum is equal to 9. And if I increase these m and n values, so if I say, for example, please calculate sum between 1 and 4, we should get 10 this time. So 10, okay, and then here if I add number 5, for example, we should get value of 15, right? So we get that the result is 15. And what you can do here now, of course, you can say, please calculate sum of the numbers between 1 and 551, for example, but this is going to be hard to check. So if I run my program, as you can see, we get this very, very big number. Okay. One very important thing that you must have each time that you work with recursion is the following. So every time that you work with recursion, you must have this base case here, which will stop the recursion from happening again and again and again. So this base case here will stop invoking recursive sum function at a certain point when a certain condition is reached. And unless you have that base case which will stop the recursion, you will have that function invoking itself infinitely, so infinite number of times, and you will get an error. So in order to demonstrate that, I will remove this base case here. So let's comment it out. And if I run my program now, as you can see, we get a Stack Overflow error, which means that, as I already said, this recursive sum function is invoking itself again and again and again, infinite number of times, and this recursion never stops. And in order to stop it, you need to have a base case which will stop the recursion. So I'm going to close the program now, and I will return this code here, which is our base case. And if I run my program again, as you can see, we get the expected result and the error has disappeared. So that is something very important to remember. Each time that you use recursion, you must have a base case to break that recursion from happening infinite number of times. So I hope that you understood what is recursion and how it works. And in order to practice on your own, I will leave a task for you. And the task is following. So I want you to do the factorial of a number using recursion. Calculate factorial of a number using recursion. And if you are not familiar with what factorial is or how it is calculated, I will leave a video link here where I'm calculating factorial of a number using loops. And then what I want you to do is to do that same task using recursive functions. And you can paste your code in the comments down below. So I hope that this video helped you understand what is recursion and how it works. And if it did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And also, you can follow me on my other social media if you want. The links are in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Saldina and I make IT and programming related videos. So if that is something that is of interest to you, consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a thumbs up as well. Now, in this particular video, I want to talk about object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? Well, OOP, or object-oriented programming, allows you to represent real-life objects in programming. And those real-life objects are going to be represented together with their attributes and then their behaviors as well. One of the most important concepts of OOP are classes and objects. So let me explain the difference. What is a class and then what is an object? A class is going to represent a template, meaning a blueprint, and then an object really represents an example of that class, an instance of that class. For example, a class can be a fruit, and then an object of that fruit class can be an apple, a banana, a peach, or another example, a class can be a car, and then an object of that class can be a Volvo, a Ford, a BMW, and so on. And that car class, for example, has some attributes and then it has some behaviors as well. Now, what are attributes of car class? Well, a car has a name, for example. That's an example of one attribute. And then it has a price and max speed and color and so on. And then behaviors of a car can be drive, for example, and then brake as well, and then change color and so on. So here we are going to create an example of a class, and then we are going to create an object of that class. So the class that I want to create is going to be called YouTube channel. So in order to create a class, you write class, and then you give a name to your class. So here I'm going to say YouTube channel, like this, and then you put these curly brackets, and at the end you will have to put a semicolon. And now here you will put the members of this class. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned is that class is user-defined data type. We have already talked about data types in this course, or in C++ for Beginners course, so if you haven't watched that, make sure to do so. I'm going to link it in the description and then here as well. So we have talked about basic data types such as integer, floating point number, and then Boolean, character, double string, you know. But a class is going to be a user-defined data type, which is going to allow you to represent a real-life object in programming. And in this particular situation, I want to represent a YouTube channel. So let's think of attributes of a YouTube channel. What is something that describes a YouTube channel? Let's say, for example, that each YouTube channel has a name. So that is going to be a string variable. Let's say string name, like this. So these attributes are going to be represented with variables. So one of the attributes is going to be name, and then let's say another is going to be string owner name, like this. And then let's think of another attribute. Let's say that each YouTube channel has a subscribers count. So int subscribers count, like this. And then let's as well create a list of published videos. So I'm going to say list, and let's call it published video titles. So that is going to be type string, and it is going to be called published, like this. Now here it says that this list cannot be used because we haven't included it here. So here I'm going to say include list, and now this should be accessible. Okay, now we don't have that error anymore. And what I want to do here is I want to represent a YouTube channel that has 4 attributes. It has a name, then owner name, you can use email here or whatever, and then it has subscribers count and published video titles. Now here you can use another class. Here you can say, for example, list of videos. You can create another class that is called video, and then in that video class you can put all the attributes that describe a video. So that can be, for example, a title, and then a description, number of likes, number of comments, number of views, the duration of that video, the video itself, you know. But for the simplicity of this particular example, I'm going to use just the title of those videos. So now, after I have created this YouTube channel class, what I can do is I can create an object of that class. So let's say here that I'm going to create an object. So how you do that, you say the type, so you put the name of your class, which is YouTube channel, and then you give a name to that variable. Let's call it YouTube channel, like this. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to assign values to these properties of my YouTube channel. And how do I do that? Well, you say YouTube channel, and then you put dot. And here is nothing available, but it should be. These properties should be available when you say YouTube channel dot. Now, why these are not available? It is because all the members of your class are by default private. And that means that these members, because they are private, they are going to be accessible only within this class here. And in order to make them public, in order to make them accessible outside of this class, you put public access modifier. So you say here public, okay, like this. Now, this public is an access modifier, and it is going to make all of these members of your class accessible outside of your class, which means that now if I press dot here, as you can see, name, owner name, published video titles, and then subscribers count is available for me now. So I'm going to say that the name of my YouTube channel is going to be, for example, Code Beauty, like this, and then owner name, let's copy this a couple more times. So owner name is going to be my name, so Saldina, like this. And then subscribers count, well, let's say this is an integer variable, so we don't need the quotation marks. Let's say 1,800 people. And then these published video titles, so let's add value to my published video titles list. So here I want to say that I have published, for example, C++ for beginners. Oh, let's say video 1, okay, and then let's say HTML and CSS video 1. Okay, and let's add as well this video. So let's say C++ OOP video 1. Okay, now after I have assigned value to these properties, what I can do is I can write out these properties. So I can say here, for example, cout, and then let's say name, and let's write out the name of my YouTube channel like this. And I'm going to add an end line, and I'm going to copy this a couple more times like this. So here I want to write out owner name. So let's put YouTube channel dot owner name, and then here I want to write out a subscribers count. So YouTube channel dot subscribers count, and then published video titles. Now this property here, published video titles, is not a simple property, meaning this property here is a list, and in order to write out a list we are going to use a loop. So I'm going to delete this, and then here I want to create a loop, and let's say that we will be using for each loop. So I'm going to say for like this, and then here I'm going to write out the type of the value that I'm going to use in my list. So I'm going to say string, because this published video title is of type string, and then here I want to give it a name. So I'm going to say video title like this, and then I'm going to specify the list that I want to iterate, and that list is going to be this one here. So it is going to be a list of published videos in my YouTube channel object. Okay, and now in these curly brackets I am going to specify the block of code that is going to be executed in each iteration. So what I want to do with this video title is I want to write it out. So I'm going to say cout, and then let's write out video title, and I'm going to add an end line at the end as well. And one more thing that I want to write out before this list is going to be just cout videos like this. Okay, and let's add end line at the end so that it is formatted nicely. So now if I run this program, as you can see, it has written out information about this object that we have created here. It says that the name of YouTube channel is Code Beauty, and then owner name is Saldina, subscribers count is equal to 1800, and then this channel has published 3 videos, so C++ for beginners, and then HTML and CSS video 1, and then C++ object-oriented programming video 1. Okay, so I have created a class that is called YouTube channel. I have created 4 attributes, so 4 properties, and made them public, which means that these 4 properties are going to be accessible outside of this class, and we have accessed those properties here. So we have said that we want to assign the value to our name property, and then owner name, subscribers count, and then we have as well assigned value to this published video titles list. Okay, and then here we have written out information that is stored inside these properties. So that was an example of how you can create a class, and then how you can create an object of that class as well. And in my next video, we are going to be talking about constructors and class methods, because there is a more simple way to do this that we have done here. So make sure to check that video out as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and also please subscribe to my channel and click that bell icon, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Saldina, and I make IT and programming related videos on this channel. So if that is something that is of interest to you, consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up as well. And in this particular video, I want to talk about constructors and class methods. So here I have some code that we have written in a previous tutorial of this course. So if you haven't watched that, make sure to check it out. I'm going to link it here and in the description as well. And let's explain very quickly this code that we have here. So I have created a class called YouTube channel, and that class has 4 public properties. So 4 attributes, those are name, owner name, subscribers count, and then a list of published video titles. And then here I have created an object of that class. I have assigned it the value to these properties here. Okay, and then here I have written out information about this object that we created. And as I said, in this video I want to talk about constructors and class methods. And how am I going to explain these? Well, let me first introduce a problem to this approach here so that you can really understand the need for these two. So, what happens if I want to create another object of this YouTube channel class? How am I going to do that? Well, in this current situation, what I would do is I would copy this. So I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to paste it here like this. And let's give it a name. Let's say that this channel is going to be YouTube channel 2. And let's call it, let's say YouTube channel 2.name. Let's say that it is going to be called Amy Sings, for example. And owner is going to be a girl called Amy. And then she is going to have, let's say, 2,000 subscribers. Okay. And then the videos that she has published are going to be songs, obviously, because she has a channel named Amy Sings. So let's say that she has published, for example, let's say Johnny B cover like this. So that's one song, that's one video. And then let's say that another video that she has published is going to be, for example, Lorelei. So that's a song from Scorpions, and she has made a cover of that song like this. Now these two are two of my favorite songs, and you can put whatever you want here in this list. And I'm also wondering, and you can write that in the comments down below, what are your favorite songs? So please write that in the comments. Just don't put links, because I think that YouTube has this policy of treating links as advertising or spam or something. So just write out the name of your song and then the name of a singer, I guess. And I'm really looking forward to reading your comments. So now that I have created this second YouTube channel, what I want to do is I want to write out information about this channel. But I noticed that I'm missing here this YouTube channel 2. So here I'm going to say YouTube channel 2.owner name, and then YouTube channel 2.subscribers count, and then YouTube channel 2.published video titles as well. Okay, now if I wanted to write out information about this second channel, what I would do is I would copy this. So I'm going to copy it and then paste it here, and here I will say that the name is YouTube channel 2.name, and then owner name is YouTube channel 2.owner name, and then here as well, and then YouTube channel 2.published video titles. Okay, now if I run this program, we should get information about these two channels. So the first channel is this one that we already had. It's Code Beauty, owner is me, and then this is subscribers counter, and then these are 3 videos that I published so far. I mean, I published more than 3 videos, but this is just an example. And then here is our second channel. It's called Amy Sings, and then owner is Amy. She has 2,000 subscribers, and then she has published 2 covers. Now, this here has a problem. If we wanted to create a third, a fourth, a fifth object, we would have to copy this code, and then each time that we want to write out information about those channels, we would have to copy this code. And this really collides with a principle called don't repeat yourself, meaning do not repeat your code if you don't really have to repeat it. And in this particular situation, we do not have to repeat it. So how we are going to solve this problem? Well, the first thing that I want to talk about are going to be constructors. And what a constructor is, it is a special method that is going to be invoked each time that you create an object of a specific class, meaning that method is going to be called on the construction of that object. So there are 2 rules when it comes to constructors, and the first rule is that constructor has the same name as your class. And then the second rule is that constructor does not have a return type. So let's create a constructor for this YouTube channel class. Here I'm going to say YouTube channel like this, and then I'm going to put these parentheses, and I'm going to put these curly brackets as well. Now, what I want to do in this constructor is I want to receive two parameters. I want to receive two arguments, and those are going to be string name and then string, let's say owner name. Okay, now these are two parameters that I want to pass to my constructor, and what I'm going to do with these in my constructor is I'm going to assign these to these properties here. So I'm going to say that name is going to be equal to whatever my user has passed to this constructor. So name is equal to this name here, and then owner name in my class is going to be equal to this owner name that I have received in my constructor. Now, since this constructor here is invoked each time that I create object, each time that it is constructed, that means that at the beginning, when a channel is created, it has 0 subscribers. So I'm going to put here 0 like this. We do not even have to pass this value in our constructor, because when you create your YouTube channel, you do not have subscribers. Okay, now what am I going to do here is I do not need to write this code like this anymore. So I'm going to delete, I'm going to actually comment this code here. And as you can see, this is underlined. It says that no default constructor exists for class YouTube channel. Now, what we have to do is we have to use this constructor here that I have just created. And how you do that? Well, you put parentheses here, and then inside these parentheses, we are going to pass these two parameters. So the first parameter is going to be the name. So that is the name of our channel, and that is this name here. So code beauty like this. And then a second parameter, as you can see here, is owner name, and that was this value here. So I'm going to pass that here like this. And now, after I have created this YouTube channel, we do not need this code anymore. So I'm going to delete it. Okay. And what we can do is we can do the same with this second channel. So with this YouTube channel too. So I'm going to really comment this code for a moment. And then here I want to invoke a constructor for this YouTube channel class and pass it as first value the name, because we are receiving name as our first value in our constructor like this. And then the second value that we need to pass is going to be owner name. So I'm going to copy that as well. And now we have successfully created this second YouTube channel. Okay, so now I can delete this code here as well. Okay, and now if I run my program, as you can see, it has written out information about my two channels. The first one is code beauty, owner is me, and then I have 0 subscribers because I have just created my channel and we have assigned that here. And then our second channel is Amy Sings, owner is Amy, and she has 0 subscribers as well. And as you can see, both of these videos, published videos lists are empty because we haven't really added any videos. Okay, so how do you do that? I'm going to delete this from here and then move it here like this. So now we have both of our objects being created at the beginning here. So what I want to do now is I want to add a couple of videos to this channel here. So how do you do that? Well, you say YouTube channel like this, and then I'm going to put dot, and here in this published video titles list, I'm going to invoke a method push back, which is going to add at the end of this list another element, and that element is going to be of type string because this published video titles is a list of strings. So here I'm going to add a string, and I'm going to call that video C++ for beginners like this. So that is one video, and then let's add a couple more videos. Let's say HTML and CSS for beginners. And then let's say OOP for beginners. Well, no, let's say C++ OOP, like this. Okay, so we have added 3 videos for this first channel, and then this second channel does not have videos yet. So if I run my program again, you can see that this first channel has 3 videos, and then this second channel does not have any videos yet because we have deleted those that we previously had. Okay, now that was the example on how you can create a constructor and how you can use a constructor. So this here is the constructor of this YouTube channel class, and we have passed 2 parameters, 2 arguments to this constructor, and then here in our constructor we have really assigned initial values to these properties here that we have in our YouTube channel. And then this here is the way that you use your constructor. So you put these parentheses and then you pass the values that your constructor has to receive. And here we have created 2 objects, and we have done that without repeating code. Now what is going to happen with this here? So this here and then this here is repeating code as well. And in order to solve this particular problem, we are going to use class methods. So class method is going to describe a behavior of a class. And since here we are writing out these attributes of our class, since we are writing out information about our YouTube channels, what I want to do is I want to create a method that is going to be called getInfo, for example. So that method is going to be of type void. Let's call it getInfo, like this. And what I want to do in this particular method is I want to copy this code here. So I'm going to cut it and then paste it here. And in this particular method, in this getInfo, I want to say, please write out name and then the name property. We don't need this YouTube channel object anymore because we are in the class itself. Okay, and then here as well, I'm going to delete this here and then here. And now this code should work. So whenever you invoke this getInfo method on your object, it should write out all of these properties of that object. So now I can remove this code here as well. So this information about our second channel, and how am I going to invoke this method? Well, I say the name of my object. So for example, YouTube channel dot, and then as you can see, I have this getInfo method available here because it is public. So I say getInfo and I invoke it like I would invoke any other function. And let's do the same for our second YouTube channel. Let's say YouTube channel 2 getInfo, like this. And now if I run my program, as you can see, it has written out information about my 2 channels. So Code Beauty, Saldina is owner, and then subscribers count, my videos, and then info about my second channel as well. So I hope that you understood the concept behind a constructor of a class and then behind a class method. Here we have demonstrated how you can create an object using a constructor, and then here as well. So you don't really have to repeat your code each time that you create an object. And then here we have invoked a method of these objects which we have implemented here. So you do not have to repeat that code as well. Each time that you need to get information about your object, you just invoke this getInfo method. And now our main function looks much cleaner, and all the implementations of the construction of our objects and then this getInfo method are in this YouTube channel class. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone, my name is Saldina and I make IT and programming related videos. So if that is something that is of interest to you, consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a thumbs up as well. And in this particular video, I want to talk about encapsulation. Here I have code that we have written in the previous videos of this course, so if you haven't watched those, make sure to check them out. I'm going to link them in the description of this video. And I'm going to go over this code very quickly so that you can understand what we have written here. So here I have created this YouTube channel class, which has 4 public attributes, and those are name, owner name, subscribers count, and then list of published video titles. And then here we have a YouTube channel constructor, and then this get info method as well that just writes out information about our YouTube channel. And here's the code of our constructor. Okay, and then in our main function, we have created an object of this YouTube channel class, and we have assigned it these 2 values for our name and our owner name. And then we have as well added 3 videos to this published videos list. And here we have written out information about our channel. So if I run this code now, as you can see, this is how it behaves. It writes out information about our YouTube channel. Now, what I want to talk about in this video is encapsulation. And what does this principle of encapsulation says? Well, encapsulation says that these properties here should not be public. These should be private, and then the way to change the value, the data that you store inside these properties, should be really using methods that you expose, and then you give access to those methods to your user, and then using those methods, obeying the rules of those methods, your user can change the value of these properties. Okay, so let me introduce a problem here so that you can really understand why we need encapsulation. So what happens if I say, for example, that YouTube channel, so this that we have created, has, let's say, 1 million subscribers. Okay, this is 1 million. Now we have assigned 1 million subscribers to this YouTube channel, and this should not be allowed. If I run this program, you can see that this YouTube channel has 1 million subscribers now, but this is not the natural way to gain subscribers for your YouTube channel. What you should do instead is you should give your user the ability to invoke subscribe and unsubscribe methods, and then using those methods you are going to increase or decrease this subscribers counter. So let's do that. Let's first hide these properties